everybody, welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about PTSD. So I guess we'll just jump in here. PTSD, what is it? Well, a lot of people might say, whenever you think of it, you think of how movies portray it. Like the armed gun of the military came back home and now he can't handle even the simplest clicks, like the door shutting or whatever sets him off. Honestly, I'm not dismissing the fact that veterans and the military do when they come home. A lot of them do have PTSD, and a lot of them end up committing suicide, which, not great, but it's not all of them either. And it's not all domestic violence cases. Those are the majority of things you hear when you think of PTSD. But, it's not. Anybody can have it. All it is somebody having a traumatic experience in their life. And whether it's consciously or subconsciously, I'm not going to say taking it to heart, but learning from it. That's all it is. It's us learning life lessons. It's you maybe in the back of your head thinking, fuck, I don't want to go through that again. Who the hell does? And then your mind triggers a response. And, okay, this is how to stay out of it, how to stay away from it. These are what the signs look like. And we're going to give you hints so we don't have to go through that again. That's where that fight or flight comes in. If, you pick a fight with somebody and they beat the shit out of you, and now every time you go next or near to that person or whatever, or that person shows up, you're going to feel fearful. Well, that's the first signs. It's difficult, though. With me, I was just in the grocery store the other day walking, and this older lady bumped into me, and then she touched my arm and said sorry or whatever, but that was enough to get my heart rate going, and it didn't feel nice, It wasn't great. I really don't like people touching me, and I really hate female touch more than anything. I'll make an exception for my mother, but, if I don't know you and I don't feel comfortable with you, it's a whole new level of uncomfortable, especially when you've gone through shit, with, the touching my arm thing for me was her favorite thing to do, her. I've talked about her in pretty much all my videos, She's my reason for a lot of the way I feel, but her go-to thing was when she was pissed off, she would grab you by your arm super tight and then dig her fingernails into you and rip your skin back. That was another Tuesday, but, now I really hate female touch, because then 50% of the time she, just touch your shoulder or whatever to be nice, or it's hard to say. Every little thing was manipulation with her. So, it's hard. And especially when you're in situations like that where it's not necessarily a lot of physical abuse, but a lot of mental abuse, it takes your toll. It takes its toll. If it's physical, that shit can get out of hand. He's not good for you, or whatever the situation is. There could be a chance that he might kill you, and you have to live with that. And I'm sorry, but you're making that decision for yourself. With mental abuse, and a lot of it coincides, but obviously in most cases one is heavier than the other, and a lot of it is just the person and their skills. You gotta when people are manipulative, it's because they got good at it because they were allowed to, they had years of experience, or they know the right buttons to push, and their head has, gone to that place, where they've gotten good at it. But anyway, back on track. PTSD. Honestly, it can be triggered by anything, depending on on what your things are. I mean, maybe just hearing my voice is triggering for some people. Maybe, you know, hearing that first video when I talked about my attempt, maybe that was triggering. Which, my apologies for anybody who listened to that first, because I completely forgot to put a trigger warning on that. So I guess we'll know if this gets popular and taken down that I need to remake it. But you know, it's the same shit, different day. There's, you know, a lot that goes into it, and I'm not gonna say it can't, but it's not just, you know, oh, well, this person said something and it triggered me, you know, and it's not what a lot of people think it is. A lot of people think that most people are just like these delicate, fragile things, you know, that have PTSD, and, you know, tiptoe around them because anything will set them off. But that's not the case. It's certain events and the way that you portray yourself. And honestly, if you're around somebody who has PTSD and anxiety and stuff, and you're noticing that they're getting a lot of panic attacks around you and whatever you're doing, maybe you should take a step back and stop. Because honestly, whatever you're doing might be the thing that's upsetting them. Now, I'm not going to say that is all the time, you know, the circumstances. Just ask. I mean, it's hard for a lot of people to own up and say, yeah, I have PTSD, and that fucking hurts when you do that. And not physically, you know, mentally, it's exhausting and it hurts. There's a lot of things, like, I was always afraid to make friends because I was always told that, you know, she was my only friend and she'd be there forever and she was the only one who would love me, you know, out of my family and everybody else. And honestly, I took that to heart, and I don't know what the world is trying to tell me right now, but I still do. Lately, just with everything that's going on with me, it's just one thing after the other keeps telling me that I'm a bad person, you know? And I don't know how to be a good one if this isn't it. You know, I've tried my whole life to be a good person, and I've tried really hard. It's not like I haven't. I did everything right. I supported everyone. I tried my best to make friends and be nice, but everything around me keeps saying, you know what? Maybe you just ruin it because you're not a good person. You're not this good, sweet girl who's trying to help, you know? You're honestly causing more harm than good. And honestly, that's what I'm afraid I'm doing with this channel too sometimes, is, you know, I'm giving people ideas, or maybe, you know, somebody who already has it listens to this and then they start thinking too much into their own stuff, and then they start spiraling. Yeah, it's hard to say. It really is. But I'm trying. You know, I was always afraid. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of living. I was afraid of dying. I was afraid of getting too close to anybody. And I still am. You know, that's a part of my PTSD, is I've been taught over time that I am unworthy, not good enough, and will never obtain love in any way, shape, or form, whether platonic, romantic, or, you know, family or friends or whatever. But it's difficult, definitely, because it keeps your mind thinking all of the time, you know, and people might not show this, you know, it's definitely a hard one. They're not just gonna tell you, you know, hey, my mind is going 1,000 miles an hour, can you please stop it? They're not gonna say that. So just be aware of the signs. If you see somebody around you and you can kind of get a sense that they're having a panic attack, or that they tense up, or their hands start shaking, or their eyes wander off, or they just stare and they're intently thinking, maybe just give them a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm here if you need anything, and I'm sorry if I did something. And I'm not going to say all, but most people will be, oh, it's not you, or whatever. I just have a lot going on. All you can do is reassure. Because it takes years to get over some of those things. And some people might never. With my stuff, feeling like I'm a bad person and that I'm not worthy of anything, and that I'm the reason that everything around me is going wrong, and that it'd be better if I wasn't here. That's a lot of that's because of my PTSD. When I lived with her, I was taught that I was worthless, that I was nothing, and that I would never amount to anything more. So that's kind of ingrained in me now, no matter, and nobody's gonna be able to talk me out of that. This might be something I carry with me my whole life. I have no idea. Maybe if you give me another 10, 15 years, I'll get over it. But, for now, this is where I'm at. It all has to do with that ladder. You climb and you climb and you climb, and then something pushes you down, and you get up and you try again, and you fall down again. And at this point, I've fallen down so many times, I'm having a hard time finding the strength to get back on that ladder. It is fucking life. It keeps tearing me down again and again, and I know a lot of you can relate to that. Whether, it's you getting a promotion at your job, and then your car breaks down, and then you are able to boost your company and take them to number 1 or whatever, or you're able to help a coworker, get out of a rough marriage, or help them through a divorce or whatever, and then, your kid stops talking to you. It's this game with life, that tug of war of good and bad, the negative and the good, and some of it can be harder than others. Like, for me, I thought I was doing great. I got away from that small little town where I was slowly drowning into a pit of tar, one that I'd never be able to pull myself out of. If I got much further, I would have went down a really bad road. And I wouldn't have stopped, because honestly, I didn't care. And then, I got pulled back and put into a better situation. I got a job, I made lots of friends. Some I was even so close to, they're like family. And, I enrolled in school. I never thought I would go to college. And then I put my foot in the waters, and I found a trade school that was, more my speed. So, I'm paying for that. And then I get in this car accident, and they're trying to blame me for it, and my car's completely totaled, and that puts a big dent in my life. So I get up, I keep applying for jobs, I keep trying and trying and trying, and I keep pushing through school, and I keep pushing through what I have, making the most of what I have. And then, I find this good job, and they call me and they're like, hey, you're hired on the spot. I already put you through the system. Whenever we can finish this onboarding, you can start. Honestly, I just finished that today, so I can start next Monday. And now, and then I find out that the guy I was talking about in the last episode liked me, and the reason why he kept doing this dance of pushing and pulling was, I want to say he's waiting for me to quit this job, which they automatically took me off the schedule. So they've that's their non-official way of firing me, I guess, even though I did nothing wrong. All I did was stay, and the only reason I stayed was to help, because I thought I was doing good. And then yesterday, halfway through my day, it was like 6 o'clock, You know, I heard my mom call me from downstairs. She's all joking and shit. She's like, "Oh, the cops are here for you. What did you do? Na na na." Because I'm a good person. You know, I try my best to be a good person. All I do is I work my fucking ass off just to provide, so that my mom's not alone. So that my little brothers, you know, have someone and something, because God knows they don't have anybody else. You know? And, you know, I went downstairs and they're like, "Can you step out for a second?" You know, they told her they were just there to serve me paperwork. And then, you know, all of a sudden I'm being slammed against my house with my little brother sitting right fucking there and being put in handcuffs. You know, I was completely compliant. I didn't do anything wrong. You know, they're trying to charge me for theft or whatever, but, you know, I didn't do it. I mean, not what they're saying. They're trying to charge me for grand theft or whatever, but all I do is provide. I've done nothing wrong. You know, it's not like I went out and stole a jet ski. I mean, Jesus. But, you know, and they're saying, you know, it's a federal thing, so it's grand theft felony that I'm having to deal with, you know, in these next upcoming days. But I was there, you know, for 5 hours before my mom was able to complete the bond and stuff and get me out of there. But, I mean, thank the stars for her, because God knows I didn't want to stay there. You know? But, yeah, no. I forgot what it's like for a lot of people. You know, in my old town, it was just a bunch of crackheads, and everybody was tattered with tattoos and Hispanic and all this stuff. And there wasn't a lot of discrimination, you know, even though it was a heavy, you know, and I don't mean it like this, I'm just gonna say it, it's a heavy blue state, okay? I mean, I'm just generalizing, but we all know what that means. We know what sides they lean towards and what their values are, more so, but it was pretty blue. So I got used to it. You know, I got used to people not treating me differently. I am over like 75% Hispanic. You know, but I don't look it. I look like a rice cracker. But I do have my hair half shaved and a lip and a septum piercing, but that's about it. I never come off aggressive, but, you know, I got the one cop who was hopped up on coke, so he, you know, slammed me against my house and put my handcuffs on far too tight, even though I was being compliant. You know, shoved me in the back of the car, made it, you know, it's been almost over a whole day, and I still have marks on my wrists and on my sides and on my throat from, you know, being shoved in the car and the seatbelt, the handcuffs, and all the other bullshit. It's just, you know, I got to a place where I thought I was doing great, thought things were going good. You know, I've had, and it's as soon as I think I've got it under control, you know, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna have this court date for the car wreck, and I took this class so you can get it, you know, off your record and it's not a big deal or whatevs. You know, I'm like, I did that so I can get that taken care of, because it's just some old biddy, you know, who's picking on me because I have piercings. And then this happens, you know, and I keep asking myself, where the fuck did you go wrong? You know, what the fuck did you do to deserve this? But, and I've never, it's not like I've ever said I was a good person. You know, in fact, I've always said the opposite. Do I try to be a good person? Fuck yeah. Have I tried my whole life to just provide and be there and be everybody's rock? Yes. But for some reason lately, the world keeps knocking me down and telling me I'm a bad person. And then, my PTSD kicks in, and I'm worried about everything now. All my interactions with people, everybody I'm close to. I just keep telling myself, maybe don't get involved with that. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe they'd be better without you. Like, I tried to help my boss recently, and I thought we were really close, like family. And, then he wasn't even going to tell me that they completely took me off the schedule, which is pretty much being fired without the words. But, yeah, no, it's just one thing after the other. You try your best, and you try your absolute hardest, and you can't, do anything about it. The world's gonna do what the world's gonna do. All I can do is try to fix me, and then hopefully I can try to help others. That's all I've ever wanted to do. But for some reason, the universe makes it so difficult to just do the bare minimum. And then for me, I get triggers in my head, every so often, every time something like this happens, get a picture of her, I told you so. Look how great she did. Look how great your aunt is. FYI, she's not doing great either. But, I get tired of it. When you try and you try and you try and you try and you try, and all you get is the same result, and it's not like I've tried a bunch of little things, I've gone through a ton of drastic changes in my life, up until now. And I'm trying to think, where did I go wrong? Was it, when I decided that the guy that was 20 years older than me was a mistake? Was a great idea, just fantastic. Did it start when I moved in with my mom again, and we moved to Texas, and I caused a lot of issues with my mom and her husband's relationship? Or was it, there's a lot of things, Was it me being friends with my stepdad's daughter and making them meet, and that's how that started? Was that the start of it? Was it when my grandpa died? When I had to learn what death was? Is that what changed me for the worse? Or was it the day I was born? What did I do wrong? Those are all things, they all add up. That's why I don't understand religion. Why would a loving God want you to fear and want you to go through this much pain? Well, that's just my opinions. I won't go too far in that. Don't want to piss off the Christians or the Catholics. But, with PTSD, you always have that stuff kind of floating in the back of your head, like, oh fuck, what if this happens again? I don't want to get in that situation. I just got out of it. How can I fix it? And then you can't. And every little thing that happens, you might get flashes in your head, and you're like, oh yeah, that's how this started. That's how I got here in the first place. It's all just this tango, this push and pull, have some good. Let me knock you down a couple notches, let me push you up, let me help you out, now come back down, It's this floating line in life, and it's hard to say what scale it's going because I'm still young, but for all I know, I'm not super healthy or anything. I don't really take care of myself the way I should. I'm definitely trying to make a change in that, but for all I know, maybe my life is a smaller chart than I think. You know, I always said, I probably won't live past 35. Well, what if that's true, you know? Maybe my life's climax already happened and it's just downhill from here. Or if this is just some small lesson to learn in the big scheme of things, you know, then I wish I knew what it was. I wish I knew why this shit happened. But, yep, it is what it is. And every little thing you go through in life is going to be triggering, you know. Somebody spills a hot drink over you, or a bottle crashes, and you think of your ex-husband who was drunk and smashed beer bottles over your head and shit. Or, you know, somebody teases you and tugs on your hair, and then you just fucking remember being dragged across the house by it. Someone places their hand on you, and all you can think about is, you know, their nails dragging through your skin over slicing open even wider cuts. You know, you get the fresh smell of nickels, and you think of how you were laying on the floor, you know, drenched in your own small pool of blood. They're all little things, and they all go through the back of our heads, you know, one after the other. They'll never go away. And if they do, you've truly grown. You know, you can say that now. I'll allow it. You know, you've grown into the person you are now. And that's good. You know, but a lot of people won't be able to grow out of it. I know I won't. I don't know how long I have to grow out of it. Everybody hopes a long time, but with the way the world's going, it's a coin toss. You know? So, I mean, hopefully things start going up soon. Hopefully we can get over our PTSD. Hopefully, you know, we'll see the rainbow on the other side of it. Hopefully, you know, the smell of cigarettes won't be so much anymore. You know, or won't remind you of things. Or gentle grays, you know, won't remind you of all those horrible things you went through. Maybe the clicking of a pen won't remind you of the loading of a gun. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I hope we can get over it. I know it's not for everybody. And I know that some, you know, it drives people mad. That's why you hear of all these vets killing themselves, you know, after they come home, is because they can't handle what it's like anymore. You know, they're used to war and they've been trained for it mentally and physically. And not just in ways of combat and shit, but that's what they're used to. And then they come here and every little thing they just cannot handle. But, you know, little by little, and the more exposure you get to it, the more you can think. And I mean, maybe you won't completely get over it. Like for me, there's some things, you know, where, I mean, I'm not gonna sit down and break into tears and cry if, you know, a girl touches me or whatever, but, you know, I'll definitely cringe at it. I've gotten a lot better, you know. I don't completely go into panic attack mode, but stepping stones, you know. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for hearing me out. I know I didn't talk much about the subject, but, you know, this helps me as much as it helps you guys. Or at least I hope it does. But for now, thank you for watching. And if I don't see you today, see you tomorrow. Good night, good evening, good morning, and goodbye.